Welcome back, baseball fans, to the 1981-84 Fall League preparation. This is our final video we'll do in the spring, which is the complete assembling of all cards for the draft. We'll have draft results in the fall of 2025. Well, I wanted to get to this video, which is the culmination of all our investigation and trying to organize our league. We call it the 2560, and this is where we have taken individual years, which had individual drafts for the years of 1981 and 1984. Within each year, we identify who is carrying on with a card that's in the league, who has cards from that particular year, but another card of theirs is in the carryover league, the guys they want to protect as keepers, if any guys they denote as retired but still have some baseball left in them, and guys they put on the waiver list. So it's 640 players, the last row here. And by the way, this purple color here, these are nameless cards written into the league that are not draft eligible. They're just to increase the card count to 640 so we have enough talent to distribute to all the expansion teams. And the same thing in the year of 82. 82 is the same format. 83, same thing. One small little change in 83 is that we know we have second-year rookies that have some eligibility and protection by their team. As denoted here, this symbol 2Y means that all these players haven't been in the league. They're considered free agents or rookies. They're protected by the team indicated here alphabetically. They're only protected for the first 4 rounds of the draft, then they go into a free agent pool, which takes us into the 84 set. The non-draft eligible players at the bottom. A nice crew of protected rookies who have full protection unless someone inquires about a trade. But it means that if you have a guy in your farm system you really like, you don't have to worry about losing him, at least for the first year in the draft. And then, of course, here's all your Major League Baseball teams again. With, of course, you're not going to see any carry-on guys in year 4 because that league doesn't begin adding players till now. So that means that if you take the number 640 times 4 years, you get 2,560. So we call it the 2560 for the fall of 2025. When you stack all the cards on top of each other, and you're going to have a player mentioned multiple times if he plays in all 4 years or 3 years or 2 years. So there's 2,560 cards. We have sorting columns if needed here. We could do an alphabetic by player names resort if we reshuffle if we want. But when you look at the big picture, let's just start with the first alphabetical team, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Look at all this information we have for them. This is all Arizona Diamondback information regarding 57 players. 12 players are presently on the team. Then all those players have alternate cards in different years if you want to analyze that and improve into that. That's called a carry-on improvement. We know they want to keep 4 guys. So in this case, it's Andy Hassler. There's 3 versions of him. Jim Morrison has 4 cards. Ellis Valentine 3. Bob Welch has 4 cards. So that you have to figure out which of the years you want for a guy you plan to keep. They kicked 3 guys in retirement. Turns out that Steve Dillard and Mike Vail still have some seasons left in them. And Tony Perez and Chris Spire are put on waivers. Chris Spire actually plays 4 more years of baseball, but he's on waivers. He's free to play for anybody. Spire played for the Giants. He played for Montreal. He played for St. Louis. So at the end of his career, he bounced around a little bit. He can do the same thing here. The other thing we do is once we have our 2,560 assembled, we can start doing some pre-draft analysis. And that's what we're doing with first, the 384 cards that we're carrying on with, we're looking to see if any of these guys can be improved internally. And so what we do is we take a look at all the cards and I highlight if a card gets improvement. Let's start at the top again with Arizona. Here are your 12 players. 6 players from year 1, 4 from year 2, and 2 from year 3. That's your 12. You're going to add 2, 2, 2, and 2 and 84. So over here in an analysis block, if you see a blank piece here, it's because he is in the year of 81. So you know that's why you don't have it there. This is the year 82. That's the year 83. And you're looking to see if in any of the balance of years, is that player actually better? Possibly. This is how you would interpret that. Daryl Thomas, he's got a card in the year of 82. You see the number here. He's the 4th card in year 82, 8204. But we believe he's a little bit better in 83. Salome Barojas, same thing. He's in the year 82. We believe he's a little better in 83. How is this useful? One way it's useful is if you're moving out of a year and into another one, you're moving out of a year because you think there's more talent in that year you want to pick up, and so you want to create a slot. And you're going into a year that you're talent poor. So that would be a reason for doing that beyond the talent of the player itself. So far, I've only gotten through the 3 years. I still have to do the 4th year before the draft's ready. I'll be ready in a few days and I'll have the draft started. So that's how the first major portion of the team is the 12 guys we're already carrying on. Keepers is critical because you've got your 4 keepers. Here again is Arizona with Jim Morrison, Valentine, Hassler, and Welch. And here in each of these years, we highlight when we think we might take the player. So in the year of 81, Andy Hassler and Bob Welch really look good. Jim Morrison, Ellis Valentine, we don't highlight them. Because you see the number here, it means the card's available. We don't particularly like it. Why it's important is you can only take 2 players from each year. So it could very well be that that matches up for Hassler and Welch. And then Morris and Valentine could go in 82 and 83. Plus, we don't even know what happens in 84 yet. So what you're looking for is to make sure you don't have all your guys in one year blocking each other from simultaneously being in the league. So when we're going through this analysis, we're looking for interesting patterns. Here's an interesting situation here. The year of 83, we say that the Expos, that Warren Cromartie, Doug Flynn, and Larry Parrish aren't particularly good. And Rudy May, when you see a blank hole like that, he wasn't in the league. Or Strat-O-Matic didn't print his card, either one. So in this particular instance, they don't have a really good option here to keep. So the question is, who do you draft? Where do you go get your talent? Well, let's go to the carry-on thing and see first, is there any Expo players who have some good options in 83? And the answer is, yeah, there is actually. Fortunately for them, since their keepers aren't particularly good in that year, you can say, let's take Steve Braun, make him better, or Andre Dawson, or Billy Smith, or Billy Sample, or Brian Little. Improving those cards would be the draft pick. And then the year they vacate, which in this case, this is 81, 81, 81, and 82. Any of those cards you improve, you have to add a card in undrafted free agency to take up the roster spot. Since you are negative in 82, you need to add +3, the 2 you draft and the 3rd one in undrafted free agency. That's how you could solve that problem. You could also solve the problem by simply taking one of those players, since the cards exist, or you could continue to make trades. There's still lots of options there. Plus, you even have a glance at the waiver pool. We have waivered players you could take. We have also lists of undrafted free agents that aren't protected. We have On the waiver list, we've looked at 2 years so far. In year 1, we know this creates the waiver list. We know we have all 64 players in the year of 81. Unfortunately, in that particular collection of cards, we like Rusty Staub's card because he's 317. Ronnie Scott's a double-A stealing number 2 second baseman. And Doug Bird's a reasonable starter 6. Otherwise, the waiver class of 81 is just sort of ordinary. In 82, there actually are guys who were put on waivers in 80, struggled in 81, and returned to form in 82, including previously mentioned Chris Spire, Rich Dower, Rick Dempsey, Tim Stoddard, Belanger, Proley, Garth Orge. All these highlighted players have draftable cards, whereas their cards really aren't that good the year prior. That's what that indication says. On the list of retired players, this is sort of like the break glass in case of emergency. This is where you're getting on the phone and calling a guy up because, hey, we can't find anybody. Any chance we can get you to come back and play baseball again? And because this quantity is small, because a big chunk of these guys are definitely never played baseball again, I only put the number here if he does have a card, and then I'll highlight it if it looks pretty decent. Actually, David Palmer was a really nice little pitcher here, but for some reason in 81 he didn't pitch. Must have got injured. Therefore, he couldn't get waivers. So he's stuck in that purgatory where his team didn't protect him and he can't get waivers, so he has to go into retirement, or in this case, the injured list is another way of looking at retirement. And we're saying, well, get him back in the league with an 82 card and possibly even future ones, which you haven't gotten to yet. So that's an indication of how to scout out the league draft so that when you're on the clock doing a particular draft pick, you've got all this information to come to a quick decision of the best player available for each team. We also, in this process, in the 83 process, after we looked at this chunk of data for Arizona, it just will scroll down alphabetically for all teams' active or protected players of the 2,560. In that quantity, all the way to Toronto, the number is 1884. So you have 2,560 minus 1884. There's only 676 other cards that are out there to be considered as to do they get drafted and who do they get drafted to. So it begins with the year one's free agents are players. This would be their 4th time their card has been available. They've yet to be picked. Plus some guys who are very old who were in the league and got pushed into waivers or retirement and were never reassigned. Like we can take the case here of John Harris, 26-year-old. This card has been looked at for the past 3 years, and every time it's been ignored. 4th time might be the charm because the talent pool around him is getting worse as well. He's a 247, 678 OPS player with some power. Could make it in his 4th and final attempt, is the way you'll have to look at that. Last chance you could say. There's about 40 some of those kind of players and pitchers, hitters and pitchers. Then the next thing, and the color change here is for the next year of 1982. Same consideration, same free agency. There's no protection involved. Draft, it's bigger. The talent pool gets a little bigger here. Let's see, let's quantize this for you. So 1884 again. Let's see, let's subtract this. 1969 minus 1884. Try that again. There's 85 players in that pool. 85 players in that pool. And in the 82 pool, just by comparison, should be probably close to double. 128. Pretty close. Got to remember, too, a lot of these are the same names. separated by hitters and pitchers. Then the next list is a critical list. This is the third year players in their second year of their rookie contract. So again, for Arizona, you see these three players here. They did not take these players a year ago. They are Dave Henderson, Andy McGaffigan, Ricky Sturr. So in the first 4 rounds of the draft, they're protected. No one else can take them. If they still aren't taken, then they become available in the 5th through 8th rounds of the draft. We've taken a look at these cards, and simply by asterisk, we've indicated if we like the card. In the case of Dave Henderson, Steve Bedrosian. We put 2 asterisks against guys we really like on this list, like Mike Boddicker in Baltimore, Bob James on the White Sox, Ron Kittle on the White Sox, and some other players there. Then on the 4th year out, this is the year of 1984. Now, the good news is teams have full protection on these players, and they can't be snaked away from them. Let's go to Arizona again. You see Dave Henderson's name is still there because he wasn't taken in 83. He's still available in 84. Gerald Perry, Gary Pettis, Jeff Dedman, Kepshire, and Schultz. If for some reason Gary Pettis is a good defensive switch-hitting center fielder with speed, for some reason, if you don't need that this year, don't worry about it. No one's going to steal that player from you unless they want to come to you with a trade. You get to bury him in your farm system, you could say. And then next year, you have to address whether you want to add that player within the first 4 rounds of the draft. And then after we scroll down to the end of 84, we have this huge chunk of those purple 300 cards. And these are simply handwritten cards put into the league simply to spread the talent out amongst 32 teams for individual season drafts, which are not played. They're not played, they're just assembled to distribute the talent through all 32 teams in the league, because frankly, I just don't want to use handwritten cards because I know they're statistically inaccurate and kind of diminish the overall results. So in that mix, when you look at the unknowns of how many cards of the 2560 there are, it's row 2497 minus 1884. That number comes down to just 613 overall players spread over a period of 4 years that are the unknown, the exciting part of the draft. That's where the draft gets its excitement, is where those players are going to go. They're not assigned to a specific team. We can look at the draft a year ago. These are draft results from last year, just by comparison. The 80-83 league. And the way we set the draft up is, in the first column is the year and the player number. So if you look here from last year, in the year 80 to 83, it says 80-01, 81-01, 82-01, 83-01. That's the first round pick from each of the first 4 years. Then the next row is 83-02. It goes back in a time, starting furthest out. 82-02, 81-02, 8002. First 4 picks in the draft are from the 4 years of the league in any order, but you can't have 2 cards from 1 year. So you can go any of the 4, and whichever is taken BPA, best player available. The 4th year is the obvious year because you know it's the process of elimination year, whatever that would be. And then the 5th round of the draft, you're taking talent from the biggest talent pool, which is 4 years out, because that player is going to have to play a significant role, like a 5th round draft pick might be a starter in the NFL. As you get into the 6th, the 7th, and finally the 8th round of the draft, you're taking a player from year 1, the smallest talent pool, because he might not fit well or he might not be a good player, but because he's only on a 1-year deal and he's an 8th round pick, he's not expected to be a starter. So that's how the 8 players are drafted for 32 teams. If I scroll down, there's 256 players drafted. And then after that is undrafted free agency, where guys are picked for teams that need players. Teams can pass. And we have players added, teams passing. And this is sort of a filling up, making sure you have 20 men on the roster. And then the passing goes on and on and on. You see as we get down to the teams who have the least amount of cash to draft with. And you see basically the whole league is passed by here except for a couple teams. And as it turns out, a year ago, Mike Ivy was the last player added to the roster. He was the 124th player picked in undrafted free agency with a bunch of passes in there. So for your bit of trivial knowledge there. So that's how the free agency part goes. I've been doing this process for a long time, and just been trying to make more comprehensive videos so that often in the comment section people will ask, how do you organize your league, or I don't understand how it works, or so forth. Just trying to, I've done this many times, I'm just trying to make a better, more informative video instruction as to how I go about one season to the next, which is a lot of fun. You play all the way to a World Series, then the next thing you do is you move the players around. We've done that in the trade carousel. We moved a lot of players around. We got everybody set up. We even have this one sheet I want to take a look at here. I think I can zoom this in for you a little bit. This is an aerial snapshot, I call it, of the 640 players in the league, all assembled next to each other, indicated by the green are current players. So I have a printout of this. 160 names per column. So that's 160, that's 320. And the balance of 64 is the top of the third column here. Then the next group are your keepers, indicated in blue, 4 per team. That means that 80% of what you expect for the league is a known quantity, is a constant. The 12 players you have, 4 players you desire to keep, though you may not. You might trade them, you might find somebody better. So only 4 players per team are unknowns, and that is made up in the last balance because they'll replace the 2 players each team puts on waivers in yellow, and 2 players a team puts on the retired list, indicated in red. And when you get to the bottom, you've got that same math. You got 160 names in a column times 4. There's your 640 for your carryover league. And your number is the 2560. So that's your 2560 card tutorial. This seems like a good place to stop. I want to stop here so we can pick it up again in the fall with the draft results. Hope you're appreciating this analysis. Thanks for checking out the channel. We'll see you next time.